Devin Bolch, a spacewalk officer here in Mission Control, had an opportunity to narrate a short video animation for us last week that explains in detail the chronology of today's spacewalk activities by Malenchenko and Volkov. So without further ado, let's take a look at Russian EVA number 42.
Russian EVA-42 will be conducted by Yuri Malenchenko as EV-1 and Sergei Volkov as EV-2. For our animation today, Yuri will be wearing a red striped suit, but on EVA day, both will be wearing blue striped suits. They will open the Pirs docking compartment, or DC-1's hatch. Here they will take the test space experiment and take 2 samples from this hatch. Once the samples are complete, Sergei will egress DC-1 first. Yuri will hand out another test space experiment to Sergei. He also will take the cover for Expose-R, and then Yuri will follow Sergei out to the EVA ladder. The two will translate up to the service module's smaller diameter to window 8. Here they will take another test space experiment sample. Yuri will then take the test space experiment back to the DC-1 and attempt stow it inside DC-1. The two will then translate around the service module to the universal work platform where Expose-R is located. They will take photos of Expose-R. Then they will install the protective plate on Expose-R. They will open up the MLI flap of the electrical panel on the service module and disconnect 2 connectors that connect Expose-R. They will close the MLI cover, stow the connectors to Expose-R, and put the protective cover on Expose-R. Then they will remove Expose-R from the universal work platform and stow it on Sergei. The two will then translate back to DC-1's EVA ladder. Here they will stow Expose-R inside DC-1 and retrieve 2 gap spanners, the number 2 unit of Vosnesenskoye space experiment, and also a container containing SKK number 3. The two will translate around DC-1 to the Strela 1's boom. They will translate up to the Mini Research Module number 2, or MRM2. The two will translate around MRM2 to SKK cassette number 2. They will remove SKK number 2 cassette from MRM2 and install SKK number 3 cassette on MRM2. They will also reorient BKDO, or the Plume Impingement Deposit Monitoring Unit, on MRM2. They will then translate around MRM2 to where Vosnesenskoye number 2 will be installed. The two will then translate to the FGB. The two will install 2 gap spanners on the FGB. The two will translate back to MRM2, down Strela 1's boom, back to DC1, and back to the EVA ladder. Here they will stow SKK number 3 inside DC1 and retrieve Restauracja space experiment. They will set up the space experiment on the DC-1 ladder. Here, they will conduct the Restauracja space experiment on the DC-1 ladder. They will clean up the DC-1 ladder, retrieve the space experiment, and stow it inside DC-1. Then Yuri will ingress DC-1, followed by Sergei. They will close the DC-1 hatch, and this will conclude Russian EVA-42.
Back here in the ISS flight control room, Yuri Malenchenko and Sergei Volkov inside the Pirs docking compartment airlock, making final preparations for the opening of the hatch to Pirs that will mark the official start of today's spacewalk. The International Space Station is currently orbiting 250 miles above the Earth, passing over southern Russia, the extreme southeastern Russia, about to begin a northwest to southeasterly track that will carry the complex and its 6 crew members across the Pacific Ocean in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. One other task that was added just a few days ago and approved by the ISS mission management team, and actually one of the first activities for Malenchenko and Volkov once they move outside of the Pirs airlock, will be the jettisoning of a small flash drive that contains videos and messages and scripts for messages that were recorded and presented to the ground last year in honor of the 70th anniversary of Russian Victory Day. The flash drive itself is attached to a small used film canister, a bag that film is located in, an empty bag that is now stuffed with towels and wrapped securely, so it has some mass associated with it. Malenchenko will, once he makes his way outside of the Pirs airlock and then is joined by Volkov, it will be Volkov who will jettison this flash drive